Okay, so Anson Boon is one of the most exciting actors in the world right now. He has been in 1917, he's been in Crawl, he's been in Blackbird, and a whole host of other things. He is with us now. Anton, you're very welcome. How are you getting on?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
All good. First question to a Spurs fan like you, Jose in or Jose out?
Oh, Jose in. I don't get all these people saying Jose out. He hasn't been given enough time to say Jose out yet. And this guy, I mean, if there's anyone that's going to bring success to Spurs, then it's going to be Jose Mourinho, isn't it? You can't say Jose out without giving him at least the whole season or a big transfer window or something like that.
That's the thing. I think a lot of people are possibly reading into what happened at Manchester United, and when the first cracks started to appear, the
Hmm.
downfall just happened, and maybe people are afraid that the same might happen at Spurs.
I don't think it will. I just think I think he seems like a new Jose as well. I do believe Spurs will probably ruin him and he'll go back to moody Jose. But I think at the moment he just seems like he really wants to crack on at Spurs, which I never really saw in him when he was at Man United. And obviously there was a derby delight at the weekend when we smashed the Arsenal. So I think that I'm definitely Jose in at the moment.
Uh, are you a match goer? Are you missing the fact that you can't go to matches that there
Yeah,
isn't?
I'm a season ticket holder.
All right.
Yeah. I go to every match, and I go to away games as well all the time. So yeah, I'm really missing it. But at least now with the new lockdown rules and stuff, we can at least go to the pub or sort of congregate in small groups outside to watch it with people. So it makes it a bit more enjoyable to watch it because it
For
was really
sure.
depressing, without any football at all, and then not being able to watch it with people. At least now I can sort of share it with people a little bit.
It's been an incredible couple of years on a professional level for you, but also as a Spurs fan, being in the Champions League last year. So it's kind of a double whammy for you earlier this year when football gets taken away, but then
Mm,
also when your entire industry gets taken away as an
mm.
actor. Because from the outside looking in, it seemed that you were working incredibly hard. There was always something going on. There was always an amount of really interesting projects, very personal to you, that were going on over the last 12 to 18 months. And then suddenly that plug is taken out. How did you deal with that?
Um, well, you're right. There was a lot going on all the time, and felt so busy since like October 2018, maybe
Mm.
when I started filming Blackbird. It's just been kind of non-stop, which is really great. And if you said that to 15-year-old Anson, it was going to be like that, then it would have been amazing, and I would have been really excited. And I've had the best time, but it's almost been a blessing in disguise. This whole putting everything on pause because it means that I've sort of got to come home and have some downtime with my family and just do normal things that I did before I was really busy that I've sort of really missed. So it's not been too bad. It's kind of been a welcome break, to be honest. And I feel kind of guilty saying that because I know it's been like the worst time ever for so many people. It's been a bit of a, well, it hasn't been a bit of a disaster. It's been a massive disaster for so many people, the
Mm.
virus. But I've actually, yeah, it's been kind of really refreshing and a nice cool down period for me. And now I'm excited to go back to work again, which is nice. I
For
sort of hit
sure.
the reset button in a way.
It definitely feels like that, doesn't it? Everybody's got a
Yeah,
renewed enthusiasm for things that they haven't been able to do over the last 4 months.
yeah,
There's so
I've
many.
learned so many new hobbies like from this. It's been really good, and that's good. People always say as an actor. I remember when I was filming Blackbird, I got so much advice from obviously like the older actors that were in it and stuff. But I remember Susan Sarandon saying to me, "You have to do other things. Like you have to do everything but acting in your spare time because that just informs what you then do when you're at work." So I've had like probably a really good working on my craft period during this as well without realizing.
How do you mean? What sort of things have you been picking up?
I've been doing everything. I'm going to start golf lessons next week. I've
All
always
right.
played golf, and I'm just like, I can imagine I'm going to be absolutely terrible at it, but I'm going to try anyway. I've been fishing. I've been keeping really fit. I've been watching loads of documentaries. Like I've just been doing so much stuff. It's really good.
On my first golf lesson, the club slipped out of my hand and I almost killed two people with
Oh, really?
a seven
Yeah.
iron. So don't do
Hopefully,
that.
you'll kill someone.
There's so many things we should touch on from your career in recent times, but the best place to start is with Blackbird, since you've mentioned Susan. Because I was going looking for your social media account, and there is no real evidence of you on Instagram except for a photo you took of her, and her caption is "photograph by Anson Boon." So that's I guess one little footprint of you on social media. Like if you look through the cast of that film, it must have been incredible for people who aren't aware. You've got Rainn Wilson in there as well. You've got Kate Winslet in that cast, and of course Susan, as well as a host of other stars. Like what an experience that must have been from your professional point of view.
It was insane. I remember I was on holiday with my family. We were on like our summer holiday or whatever when I found out that I got the role. And I knew as soon as the phone rang, I just knew that they were going to tell me I'd got Blackbird, because I felt like it went really well when I met the director. And then, but I didn't know who was going to be in it. I knew that it was a really small ensemble cast from reading the script, and I thought, oh, they'll probably, pull out all the stops, try and do something special. And then when I found out the cast, I just like dropped my phone. It was unreal. I couldn't believe that the director Roger actually wanted me to be a part of these group of people. And then I remember we did a week of rehearsals before we started filming in October in central London. And I made sure I got there first because I wanted to like watch all of these people walk in. And I remember stood by the toilet, so like out of sight, watching people come in. And Susan came in first, and she had a tiny little dog with her. And her dog had just come from New York with her, and she had like her assistant and just everyone coming with her. And she looked like a movie star, but she became sort of like grandma, or like just like an older friend or whatever. And it was just the most surreal experience. And then I was sat, an hour later, sat around the table with Kate Winslet, Mia Wasikowska, Susan Sarandon, Sam Neill, Rainn Wilson, all these people. And I just remember thinking, what has my life become? Because that is so not me. Do you know what I mean? I could never have imagined that I would be in a situation like that. And I've been lucky enough for, that to sort of progress as the years have gone on. And it was just, Blackbird was an incredible experience, and we all got so close, and I'm still really close with Susan now.
You all got tattoos afterwards.
That's right.
That's incredible. So you've got the same tattoo as Kate Winslet and Susan and Rainn.
All 8 actors and the director.
That's incredible. So when did you decide to do that, first of all? Because that's the sort of thing you would decide to do after a very, very close experience with other humans, I'd imagine.
I think we were in the makeup chair one morning, and Bex, one of the actors in the film, was like, hey, we should get tattoos. And Kate Winslet was like, yeah, let's get some bloody tattoos. And then she organised it, and Susan was staying in a little cottage while we were filming, and Kate organised for these tattoo artists to come round we just wrapped, it was the last day, and then we were all emotional, and we all drove back to Susan's cottage and all got these tattoos, and we were like, oh, we'll remember you forever, because it really was like the ultimate bonding experience. I've never felt like family with people, not even with my close friends, as much as I did with those people, other than with my real family, obviously.
Why do you think that was?
I suppose the script was really powerful and really intimate, and it was like, it's not the most interesting script, it's a real slow burner, but obviously the plot of the film is that Susan's character is going to perform euthanasia at the end of the film, and it's just set over 2 days with 8 people in this house. And our rehearsals were like that. It was 8 people and the director in this room, sat around a table, just talking, and the director, I suppose Roger, without telling us, made us tell each other everything that we've ever done before in life, like really deep secrets and stuff, without knowing that we were doing it. And we just poured our hearts out to each other, I suppose, in this rehearsal week, and it made us so close. And then it felt like we really knew each other, even though we'd only known each other for a week. And we've shot the film in script order, so like, we did it every day was like what was in the script. So it was kind of like we were actually going through the emotions that the characters were going through in the film. So on the last day, when Susan's character performed euthanasia, we were actually all saying goodbye to each other. It was, I don't know, It was just really bizarre. And we all lived right near each other while we were filming. And we were all quite far away from home. So it was just sort of, we just all really bonded. And also I think the casting was so good. Like Sam Neill and Susan, they're both grandparents. So there was that sort of natural dynamic there anyway. Kate Winslet's the mum of someone my age, and she plays my mum. Rainn Wilson has a son my age. So it was just cast perfectly, I think, and everyone just fit into their position really well.
That is remarkable. Some very simple things done there, like the psychology of getting you all to spill your heart out at the start. But filming in sequence, it's something that's just not done very often.
No, it's not. And it certainly wasn't done on the Winter Lake, which is just obviously premiered in Ireland. That was like a completely different experience because there was obviously a lot less money on that shoot. It was a low budget film, so we didn't have the resources to shoot. It'd be ideal to do every film shot in sequence, and we pretty much did that in 1917. But to do that on Blackbird was just a real blessing, because you really are going through the natural journey that the characters are going through as actors, because you all have to say goodbye to each other at the end, like they do in the film.
There must have been quite a come down after that.
Oh, massive come down, yeah. And we have a WhatsApp group chat, and we talk in it like every week. We're still so active. And we had a little reunion to watch the film, some of us, about a year afterwards. And it was really great to get together. But yeah, for sure there was a come down. Everyone shed a few tears, definitely.
But that's what you want, isn't it, as an artist, to be so
Yeah,
connected to a character that you portray? I mean, looking on the outside, from the outside in, at a character that you feel distant from
yeah,
probably doesn't feel great. I'm not sure if you've had those experiences, but clearly Blackbird has been an unbelievable experience.
yeah. It really was. It was a real turning point in my life as well. I think my career. I really felt like I grew up on that shoot.
How do you deal with that emotion then when you walk off set? When you have this amount of love for a cast, for a project, and how do you turn that into a positive and channel that into good energy for your next project?
Well, with Blackbird, I suppose, because I was surrounded by such a lot of successful people,
Hmm.
it really just motivated me to want to do what they'd done and be like them. And but then with something like the Winter Lake, it was more difficult because the themes were so dark and it was a very lonely film. There was only four of us, so like, you know, the cast is half from Blackbird, and there was, unlike in Blackbird where we had to be really close, there was these real barriers in relationships in the Winter Lake, so that was a lot more tricky to walk away from. But I was on both films I was lucky enough to have an accent, and I find that really helpful because at the end of the day it's just like taking off your costume. When you get rid of your
Mm.
accent, I just start speaking like me again, and it's kind of easy to switch off from all the dramas that you've had throughout that day, and then you take your costume off, have a shower and a cup of tea, and it's like, or a pint, and it's like everything goes back to normal.
It's a really good point, because so many actors are method actors. It's such an easy phrase to throw out at the moment. It seems everybody's a method actor, but
Yeah,
you
I
kind of
know.
like the separation.
Yeah, yeah. The separation is good. I think the separation is key. I've had one experience before where I started to allow what was going on in the story like come into my personal life, and I was thinking that I was having like issues with my mum and dad in real life, and then my mum was like, what, you're getting too into it. You need to find something to switch off at the end of the day. And yeah, so it's really, I think separation is really key.
What did you do to switch off at the end of the day to solve that particular issue?
Well, I was working in London, and I used to like either get the tube and bus home. But instead, what I did was just get the tube and then walk like an hour home, and walking
Okay,
made me feel much better.
that makes sense.
Yeah,
One quick one on the Winter Lake. It was filmed in Sligo, right?
yeah.
Yeah. What was your Sligo experience like?
Yeah, it was really amazing. It's like nowhere I've ever been before. The landscape and just like the scenery is incredible. It was really amazing, and it really helped with the film because it was so sort of wild, and I like to call it harsh. I felt it was quite harsh the way that the scenery is around there. It's
Hmm.
quite cutthroat, and that's the sort of the vibe of the film. And but yeah, it was great, and the community really welcomed us in, and everyone wanted to help, and we had loads of locals come and help us with locations and stuff like that, and the pubs were amazing as well. I loved it.
For sure. One thing I wanted to ask you about was 1917, but kind of in the context of the subject matter of 1917. Is World War One, is history something you're interested in, and is that a motivating factor when you get involved in projects that are loosely based on real events of the past?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, if it's something I find interesting. Well, with 1917, my great granddad had survived World War One. He was a cyclist messenger in World War One, and I've grown up hearing so many stories from my granddad that his dad had told him, and we have his like war medals and stuff at home. So, and my the age I was in real life at the time, so it would have been 19, was how old my great granddad was in 1917. So it just really interested me, and I really wanted to. To be honest, it felt a bit like a gift to my granddad, and I remember taking him to see it, and he was really emotional because it was nice for him to. He's so proud of his dad. He's always spoken so highly of his dad, and I felt like I was giving something back to my granddad by sort of re-bringing his dad to life in a way, and showing him what his dad would have seen at war. Because I felt like if there's one thing 1917 did really well, it was giving a real experience of what it would have been like to be in World War One. The amount of months that the production design team worked in advance of the shoot just to get everything perfect, like just like the soil and everything that you can see in that film, they did so much research into making sure it was really accurate. So yeah, with 1917, I just remember being really interested in it and wanting to dive into that story straight away.
Hmm. Did you know at the time how unbelievably well received it will be, how much of a worldwide hit it will become? Like, I'm sure when you're spending that much time on a production set, you've got a pretty good idea this thing is destined to be pretty successful.
Yeah, I don't know. I hate ever trying to anticipate how people might receive what I'm doing,
Sure.
but I remember thinking it was so unique, which is difficult for me to say. I haven't you know, a lot of people have done a lot more jobs than me. I haven't worked that much, to be honest. Like, I might have done 5 big jobs that I've been heavily involved in. But I remember with 1917, obviously, because of the whole one take thing, and the incredible technical aspect of it, and just how well written and constructed it was, and the story felt so wholesome. And Sam and Christy, the director, I just thought they had this incredible vision for 1917. And Sam's always has such a watchful eye over his story. Everything we did throughout the shoot, he was making in the back of Sam's mind was, how does this inform the audience? And I just remember thinking, he knows exactly what he's doing. I completely trusted him. Obviously, he's got an incredible track record, but I just remember him as a director. I just put all of my trust in him, and I knew that he knew exactly what he needed the audience to feel at what moment. And so I had a kind of a good idea that people would be quite blown away by it, especially because of the sort of technical wonder of it. I remember watching. I was on set. I wasn't working, but I was on set one day, and Roger Deakins was sort of filming going up over the trench to look at this like great expanse of muddy land where all the soldiers would have been. And it brought a tear to my eye, the cinematography of it. It was so incredible. And I thought this will really move people.
It must be hard to not get the bug for being involved in the creative aspect of film when you are working up close with somebody like Sam, who is obviously such a genius. And what has definitely struck me over the last few years is how well educated the audience has become in spotting that genius. Like the one shot thing, as you mentioned, is an easy vehicle for us to get taken into the technical aspects. So this is the thing that grabs the attention. But while you have our attention, everything Sam then does is uber in front of our face. And it definitely feels that people are going to be more critical of the artistic element of film, but it also leads to huge positives as well, that there will be a greater appreciation for how bloody good some of these things can be.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I think people are so switched on these days, and it's like continuity as well. Everyone notices continuity errors now, whereas if you watch a film made 30 years ago, you notice so many things. I was watching an episode of Friends the other night, and it was like I could literally see the boom operator in the background. And back then, you'd never get away with that now, because people are so switched on and critical, and you have to make sure that you're absolutely sound now, I think, with stuff like that. But yeah, someone like Sam he really is a genius. That's the only word I could use to describe him. He's so switched on with what he wants his audience to feel and how he wants his audience to receive what he's doing.
It's true. And like that attention to detail has got better over time as well. Like I'm not sure if you've seen The King of Comedy, the Scorsese film, but in the middle of it, you can actually see the cameraman in a reflection in a window. And it's like, this is Scorsese. This is one of the best directors of all time. And still there are continuity errors or little things that you can pick up on. The reason why I asked you, actually, one of the reasons why I asked you about 1917 and your own kind of personal connection with it is because I also wanted to ask you about Master Harold and the Boys, which you were in the National Theatre, was it, in the UK, and your appreciation of that story. Because, I mean, if when theatres ever come back, I suspect that something like Master Harold and the Boys would get a huge reaction after everything that's happened over the last few months with the Black Lives Matter story and how this focuses on apartheid. Because that's something that you were deeply interested in before doing this piece, in the history of South Africa, in the racial divides and that element of things. Is that another element of your historical interests?
Absolutely. And like I said, it's like if I get a story through like that, and if it's something that really ticks me over, then it's absolutely something I want to get involved in. And we'd learned all about apartheid at school. And I'd been quite sort of growing up, I was really interested in geography and stuff, and Africa as a continent always really interested me. And when I got this script through with sort of like 2 African characters and then this little European boy who was so just disgusting to them and stuff, I just, it was fascinating to me, because there's like, Master Harold was just the most incredibly written script ever. Athol Fugard. In fact, I still haven't had time to read any more of his plays, but I need to read more of his plays. But yeah, I just absolutely wanted to get into it straight away. And I think, like my sort of little part to the service of abolishing racism is like getting involved in stories like that, and just letting people see stories like that and making sure that people don't make the same mistakes that we made in the past, I guess.
How important is it for UK society as a whole that, I mean, theatre comes back, that industry is thriving and booming again? Like I thought there was a big government injection couple of weeks ago, last
Yeah.
week, wasn't it, to try and get the industry back on its feet, because like we're speaking about film perhaps struggling over the last few months. Film probably has avenues out of this in a way that theatre doesn't.
Mm. Well, I think it's incredibly important. It means so much to so many people, and it's such a big means of educating people and entertaining people. And I don't know about you, but throughout lockdown, when football was taken away, new TV was taken away, scripts coming through was taken away, everything was sort of halted, and I realised more than ever the value of entertainment and the value of culture, I suppose. So I think it's incredibly important that it gets back on its feet as soon as possible. I've got all my fingers crossed for it, but it's such a time of unknown at the moment. We just don't know. But yeah, like you said, fingers crossed for film. At least there's all regulations being put in place now that has a route out of all of this mess.
Yeah. You are listening to Anson Boon on the OTB Culture Hall of Fame. What we do, Anson, is we get somebody to come and induct something into our OTB Hall of Fame. What it's tended to be, what it's become really, is what people can go back to. If you had to go and turn on something right now, a film that you'd watch, a TV show you'd watch, or a book that you would read, what would you go back to? So today you're going for Out of Three Flavors Cornetto Trilogy, which, as far as I recall, is Shaun of the Dead, It's Hot Fuzz, and The World's End was the third one, wasn't it?
Right, yeah.
Why did you pick this?
So if I want to go back and watch something, I suppose like a lot of people, over and over again, that makes me feel good. It's easy watching, and I find it really easy watching. I find the characters in it really relatable to my friendship group. I just think that there's just all these different people in this group of lads there's just like a really funny dynamic, and they've all got completely different personalities, but they work so well together. That's in The World's End, I suppose. And then in Hot Fuzz, the relationship of Nick Frost and Simon Pegg again. And the towns that they're setting just remind me of like where I grew up, and just I suppose they're weird films to relate to because there's not really themes to relate to, but I find them easy watching. It's my sort of comedy as well. And I would absolutely love to work with Edgar Wright. Every time I watch those films, I'm just like, I reckon he's so much fun to work with. Yeah, I suppose they make me laugh a lot, so that's why I like watching them so much.
Yeah, it's I don't know. We've spoken a lot about nostalgia on the show recently, and like I'm looking back at just through the images of these films at the moment, and it's like, did we appreciate this era of British comedy enough? I know obviously there's still plenty to happen, but I mean the Hot Fuzz, Shaun of the Dead era, we knew how good they were at the time, but God, it's hard to see them being surpassed anytime soon at the same time.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think they'll never die. Maybe at the time we skipped over it a bit much, but like all my mates would just watch them films all the time. I'm pretty sure one of my mates can literally read every line of Shaun of the Dead. Like he knows it inside out. But yeah, and I think it is nostalgia as well. I watched Shaun of the Dead. I don't know, when was that actually made? Is that late 90s, early noughties?
Oh, early noughties would be my initial take on that.
Well, it feels like when I watch that film, a different world to the one we live in today, like technology and stuff. And I look at that, and the cars all look different. And I look at that London, I think it's based in northwest London. And I look at the London of the early noughties, and it really makes my heart warm. Like it feels like a sense of nostalgia. I really like that.
That's very interesting. How has it changed, or what is the big difference between that London and today's London?
I feel like today's London is just so much faster, whereas that London feels more like, I don't know, I don't actually know where in London it's based, but it feels quite residential where he is. Whereas now I don't see any residential parts of London anymore. It's just all this big, booming, quick-moving, fast-paced, unforgiving city. It's how I feel about London now. I still absolutely love London. It's my favourite place in the world. But that just feels like a different London. I don't think one's better than the other, but it's just nice to see the old one before iPhones became about, massive screens in Piccadilly Circus and stuff like that, I suppose.
Yeah, it does seem different. If I had to push you on one of the three as the standout of the trilogy, which one would you pick?
Oh.
Like picking between a favourite child, I'm sure.
Yeah, it's definitely between World's End or Shaun of the Dead. I like Hot Fuzz. Okay. I think the other two are better. I think, for me, what I love most about Shaun of the Dead is the setting of it, where it is in London. And what I love most about The World's End is the dynamic of that friendship group, because it really reminds me of my mates. So I'm probably going to go with World's End. Just the idea of like a pub crawl and stuff like that. I think it's a genius idea for a film. I think it's so funny. So I'm going to go World's End. And I honestly, like, that's got so many of my favourite actors in, like Paddy Considine, Martin Freeman. I just think they're so good in it. Eddie Marsan, yeah.
Yeah, they're all absolutely fantastic. It's a good
Yeah.
shout, Anson. I'm not going to lie. It's a great shout for an induction into the OTB Hall of Fame. Just a couple of details just to mention before we wrap up. People have heard us talk about Blackbird, but just to stress, it's premiered at the London Film Festival and is going to be released in the US this September.
Yeah.
Was this a situation where COVID put a halt on the release, or what was the situation with the staggered sort of publicity around it?
Yeah, I suppose it was to do with coronavirus.
Right.
I don't get involved in all of the logistics and all stuff like that. But I'm just glad it's finally people are
Yeah.
finally going to see it in September. I'm really excited for people to see it.
One thing I meant to ask you is, what is the biggest thing that you learned from conversations with your fellow cast members in that movie? I'm sure there was tons you learned actually getting in there and doing the work, but in the conversations that you had.
I suppose sort of what I touched on earlier, which is to do so much other stuff other than acting, because it really does. The more rich your life is with things that you involve yourself in and hobbies you have, the more it informs what you do on screen, your craft. And I noticed that all these other actors do so many things. They all travel the world and do this and bungee jump and hike and do all these kind of crazy things, and it makes them real happy actors. Because sometimes if you involve yourself, I remember I used to involve myself in acting too much, and it became unhealthy. It becomes like obsessive, because my job is just full of so much unknown. You never know what's coming next. And so if you've got so many other things that you enjoy, that you can fill your time with, then time goes by and there's less unknown, and you enjoy your job a whole lot more, I find. And that's something that I really noticed from the other actors. It was like, acting, they absolutely love it and it's their world, but it's also their job, and they've got other stuff that makes up their world other than acting. So that's something that I've learned from them.
It does seem
It's so important for me, that.
It does seem though that the way you've approached your career so far is a sustainable thing, that the projects you've got involved in are, as you've discussed, very historically interesting to you. Your fellow cast members are absolutely amazing. You plug yourself into this hugely emotional way of being. That to me seems like somebody who's really enjoying his craft and doesn't see it as a job.
Yeah, maybe. I definitely don't see it as a job. I definitely take it for granted sometimes as well, because I've always growing up, I always wanted to be an actor. And if someone asked me what I wanted to be, it would be that I wanted to be an actor. But it never really seemed like is viable the right word? I don't know. What does viable mean? Is that the right word? Like a viable...
yeah, it's not your creed.
Yeah. It just didn't seem like something that I could ever really do. Like my family are not involved in it. I didn't grow up in London. I just grew up in the middle of nowhere in England. So it's just like nothing to us. And now it's happened, I guess I really am just doing what I love every day, and it doesn't feel like work at all. But then sort of as I became more busy and got more involved in it, it starts to feel more like a job. So now it's important for me that I enjoy doing loads of other stuff. But I'm glad you think it seems like I've done interesting choices and stuff, and that it seems sustainable. I can tell you that probably, maybe subconsciously it was on purpose. I suppose I have had scenarios where I've had to pick between. I've been quite lucky where I've picked between, like different offers of scripts, and so I guess I have made a conscious choice of what scripts I'm going to be involved in. But yeah, I think I've been quite lucky in that they've all seemed to be really interesting and really deeply emotional in different ways, and they've really sort of it broadened my horizons, definitely, in the way I look at people. I've loved it.
So what are you interested in doing next? I know that's a terrible, terrible question for anybody to be asked. What are your plans for life and all that sort of thing? But is there a particular subject matter? Is there a particular form of art you want to get involved in over the next little while?
I really enjoy film. If I was going to think about theatre, film or TV, I loved what I did in the theatre, but at the moment I really enjoy embarking on a journey, but it's got an end, and you sort of whether it's 6 weeks or I don't know, 3 months or something, you just sort of go through this wholesome journey with a group of people, and there's a definitive start and an end. That's something that I really enjoy. And but I would actually really like to do comedy. I'd love to work with Edgar Wright or Armando Iannucci, someone like that. But or Taika Waititi, I think he's great as well. I haven't done much of that. Everything I've done, like you said, it's been really heavy loaded. And while that's great, I look forward to doing something, because I really love comedy as well. So I look forward to doing something a bit more lighthearted. But for me, it really is mostly about the director, because I just love collaboration. I love And that, on the Winter Lake, it was just a dream, because me and Phil, the director, literally just sat down around a table, and we were like kids in a candy store, just chucking out all these ideas out about the character, and like seeing what works and what doesn't, workshopping through it. And that, I really enjoyed that. So I suppose for me, it's about finding just good directors in the future, and working with people with similar creative ideas to me.
But it's an unbelievably exciting time, Anson. I should mention as well that The Winter Lake, of course, premiered at the Galway Film Festival last week. So it's starting to come onto the radar now, and I'm sure we'll be hearing plenty more about that over the next few months. It's been great chatting to you, Anson. Congratulations on everything so far, and best of luck to you getting out of lockdown and getting back on the road again. As an Arsenal fan, though, I'll wish you limited luck as a Tottenham Hotspur supporter. I said I'd drop that in at the very end. Get the interview and then drop that in at the very end. Great chatting to you.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me. Cheers.